Live with CDP Sports Talk, a weekly sports and entertainment podcast sponsored by Barry Cullen Chevrolet. Live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and LinkedIn. And on audio via Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Spotify, Anchor FM, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Radio Public, and TuneIn. Now, here's your host, Chris Palme.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to season 13, episode 13, overall 673 of Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show, brought to you by our friends at Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership, located at 905 Woodlawn Road West in the Guelph Auto Mall. Check out their website, barrycullen.com, for the newest selection of new pre-owned GM vehicles, along with their great selection of all-electric vehicles and Cadillac vehicles as well. You can call the dealership at 519-824-0210. Tom Chris Palme sent you, or you can email them at info@barrycullen.com. Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership has been family run and operated here in the city of Guelph since 1969. And the late Barry Cullen played for the Detroit Red Wings in the late 60s as well. So there's a little bit of a Red Wings connection with the late Barry Cullen as well, who's grandson John Cullen played for the Toronto Maple Leafs as well. So Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership, proud sponsor of Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show. Good evening, everybody, on this Friday, March 6, 2026. This is my third show in the last 24 hours, and I'm looking forward to my guest tonight. These gentlemen have been doing a podcast for over 15 years in the Detroit area called the Knee Jerks Podcast with Greg, Big Al, and Nick. And we're going to bring them on tonight, and we're going to talk a little bit about the Detroit Pistons, who have been struggling a little bit lately, and the Thompson injury. And we're going to talk a little bit about the Detroit Red Wings and a little bit about the trade deadline deals by Steve Yzerman, if that's whether enough it's good enough to get them in the playoffs. And we'll talk a little bit about the Detroit Tigers and Justin Verlander coming back to Detroit, and also about the U.S. Olympics men's and women's hockey teams winning gold over Canada as well. So we're going to bring on Greg, Big Al, and Nick right now. Good evening, gentlemen. How are you all doing?
Hey, Chris.
Doing good. Thanks for having us. We appreciate it.
Well, thanks for coming on. And before the show started, I was kind of dragging, a little tired and a little sore. But as soon as I get on air and start talking to you guys, I feel so much better.
Well, it's you get that adrenaline, right, Chris? You've been doing this a long time. You know. How it is.
Well, you guys have been doing it for 15 years, so that's congratulations. And I think you hit over 100 episodes recently.
Well, gosh, it's got to be. We've been doing for
over 100,
17 years. We've been doing it almost every.
Wow.
Well, for a while we were doing it every week, I think. Didn't we start off weekly when we first did the program? I feel like we did weekly initially, and then bi-weekly. So it's 17 years. It's probably in the 400s, probably 300 or 400 shows by now.
Well, tonight's my
I'm a more recent. I'm a more
Nick.
recent addition, so I came
You're
out
the newbie.
2023, 2024, something like that.
Yep, 23.
Wow.
Yeah.
They brought me on, so average age is a lot younger than it was with just the two of them.
I'm the oldest one here. I'm 53.
You're not the oldest one here.
Oldest one. I'm 60. Al's old as dirt. I'm old as dirt. You're far from the oldest one here, believe me.
Age is just
You're younger than me too.
By the way, this is my 6th year tonight. It was 6 years ago tonight I started my first show.
Oh, wow, nice.
6 years ago. So wasn't very good, and nobody watched me, but I kept at it, and now 6 years later, I've done 750 episodes with my 3 shows, and it's guests like you guys that make a great talk show, and I'm very lucky and fortunate to have you guys on, and I love doing this show.
Well, we love doing our show too. It's a lot of fun.
Yep.
Absolutely. Guys, I wanted to get into a couple of topics first. I wanted to start with the Pistons because they're one of the biggest stories, I think, in sports and in the NBA this year. And then maybe a little bit about the Red Wings. And obviously, the Tigers are in spring training right now. But I know the Pistons had a tough loss to San Antonio and to Cleveland and that. I just wanted to get your thoughts because I was reading some of the comments on social media and fans are already writing the Pistons off over last night's loss over San Antonio. So I wanted to get your perspectives on this Pistons team.
Nick, why don't you start on that one?
Sure. Well, they've gone through a bumpy stretch recently, but they've played some pretty damn good teams. Cleveland's tough. San Antonio's tough. They played Oklahoma City, and even without SGA, they're the champs. So they have a strong roster. They're well coached, and I don't think they finished quite 500 with all of those guys, or about there, which is what you would expect, like with good teams going head to head with one another. I'm guessing, and this may sound blasphemous a little bit, but I think San Antonio, at least right now, is a much better team, much more solid, and I think it's the part of it that makes them better is that their shooting is a lot more reliable. Pistons shooting has sort of recently kind of gone cold.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think Cade Cunningham has ever been an efficient scorer. And I'm saying that because we've heard our NBA stats guru, City Hall, always talk about his efficiency. So, he takes a lot of shots in order to get his 25 points. And if you look at the other guys, they struggle. Some of them honestly can't hit water if they fell out of a boat. The fact that they're fierce defenders really still makes them valuable assets. So I think if their shooting kind of comes back a little bit, they'll be tough. They'll make it to the playoffs. They'll make it probably past the first round for sure, and maybe even the second. But I don't think they're quite ready. I don't think they're quite at the championship level yet to say to crown them champs. They're not there.
Work in progress.
So, it is, but if you remember them 2 years ago, I would rather have this than that.
Absolutely. I wouldn't even be talking to you guys about them right now if this was 2 years ago.
Yeah, or you should have heard me 2 years ago on the show when they were going through the awesome Monty year. So, but.
Well, I think I would echo what Nick said. The other thing too, Chris, is that I think the naysayers are out because of what you both mentioned, the shooting, but also they feel like the naysayers feel like that there really isn't a Robin to Cade's Batman, even though Jalen Duren made the All-Star team and is a beast inside. But Nick hinted at it. They hang their hat on defense, which is what Pistons championship teams, as you know, have always done. 89, 90, and 2004 were all about defense and kind of offense by committee. And while you could say that Isaiah Thomas was the unquestioned number one guy on offense in 89, 90, 2004, it's hard to determine who was number one on offense. Was it Chauncey? Was it Rip? Was it Rasheed? Was it, you never really.
Was it Ben?
Right. No, Ben was, obviously was the defensive stalwart, but I mean, you didn't really have a clear number one guy. That's why Billups, when Chauncey won the MVP of the finals in 2004, it was almost, not to take anything away from Chauncey, it was almost kind of by default. You had to give someone the MVP award. And it wasn't like Chauncey was lights out in that series. It's just that he was the point guard. He was the leader, and it kind of made sense to give it to him. And that this year's Pistons are not deliberately trying, but are seem to be doing the same kind of thing, relying on kind of offense by committee, obviously led by Cade, hanging their head on defense. But I would agree with Nick. They're not quite there in terms of a championship pedigree. And you mentioned the Spurs. There's no crime in losing to the Spurs, even though the Pistons lost to them twice in a week. That's not, or a couple weeks, or whatever it was. That's nothing to be ashamed of. The Spurs are outstanding team, and they may win it all, quite frankly.
Al, thoughts?
Can Al hear us?
I'm not sure. I just got a message in the private chat. I can hear Nick, but I can't hear anyone else.
Well, that's weird. Okay.
Yes, I think everything is good on my end. I can see Nick, or I can hear you guys all except Al. I can see Al. Maybe Al should try logging off. I'm gonna type him a message now.
Okay, yeah.
Well, if you can hear me, I'll pass it on. Al, if you can hear me, try logging off and logging back on.
All right.
I just heard him there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
I'm going to be his translator.
Okay. You know what? Hey, with technology nowadays, you have to learn how to do it. I had to do a show the other day with somebody, and the audio was on their end, but I ended up getting the show done with them. So I've learned how to do ad-libbing on here too. So hopefully we can get Al back on. Hey, as for the Pistons, guys, if you'd told me earlier this year that this team would be 45-16 after 61 games, I would have said you're nuts, because I predicted the Pistons to be improved from last year with the 44 wins. I was thinking, okay, maybe 48 wins to 50 wins, be realistic. And this team is over exceeding my expectations as well. And I do feel they are a work in progress. And San Antonio is the team that I think is probably the best team in the NBA right now. They have speed, and I think that's the one way you can beat this Pistons team is with speed over physicality. And I think the Spurs, have a good chance of getting out of the West this year as well. And Big Al is back on, so we'll see if we can get him involved in our conversation. Al, can you hear me and see me? Okay. I don't think we've got any luck with Big Al so far. I guess as we wait for Al to come on, like I said, there's no shame in losing to the Spurs twice. But it's funny how the national media is already kind of writing the Pistons off yet. I still think the Pistons are going to be there in the end. It's just they don't match up well with San Antonio, but a lot of teams don't match up. Al, I can hear you. I just heard you speak. So, okay, hopefully we can get Al.
I don't think he can hear you or us. That's
Al, can you?
Okay.
Oh, he's going to do it again.
Okay, well, we'll get a Big Al on. We'll get Big Al on. Technology doesn't always work. But like I said, the Pistons, I do have some concerns too, and I agree with you. Their three-point shooting has not been very good. They haven't been really good at guarding three-point shots. And last night, a couple key injuries. Thompson, I guess, sprained his ankle, and I think he'll be out for a while with a sprained ankle, in my opinion. And Durant only played 12 minutes last night, left with back spasms, and he's questionable. So, but the Pistons do have a get-well game, tomorrow night against Brooklyn. So we'll see if they can bounce back, and hopefully we can get Big Al on. Al, can you hear me, Al?
Al, can you hear?
He's
typing a message. Yeah.
Okay.
And I've checked everything on my end as well, and I can see you guys. I can hear you all well. So hopefully we can get Big Al on here. All right. As we wait for Al. What do you guys think of the matchup against Brooklyn tomorrow night at Little Caesars Arena? And Cade Cunningham is on the questionable list too with a left quad contusion.
Yeah.
Well, this is not the time to get injuries. That's for sure.
Well, as long as he can recover from it before the playoffs come. Honestly, Brooklyn's terrible. If the Pistons bring out some of their guys that don't get a chance to play much, that would be great. One of the guys that keeps getting brought up, and it's a valid point, is, okay, you just traded away Jaden Ivey for Kevin Herter. And,
Terrible trade so far.
And the guy's just sitting on the bench. You need 3-point shooting. Get him assimilated into there. It's not trivial, it takes time to ramp up and, learn the new guys. And he's not playing at all. And I would rather him try and get his 3-point shot up and running versus watching Asar Thompson do it. So, by a long shot.
But Thompson's defense is great. Now Al's back on. Al, can you hear me now?
Yes, I am here. Finally.
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
All right, Al. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And I wanted to get your thoughts. We're just talking Pistons, and I guess they got to take on Brooklyn tomorrow as well. And the Spurs game last night was a tough loss, and I just wanted to get your thoughts, Al.
Honestly, what gets me is the overreaction from everybody from one loss. It's obviously the Pistons have weaknesses. They have an issue with 3-point shooting specifically. And honestly, the reaction was like, oh my God, the Pistons are done. They suck, whatever. It's like I think Isaiah Stewart put it perfectly when he said, this team is not a finished product. And I think we should have realized that. I think a lot of fans need to realize that. Yes, this is a team that is so far ahead of schedule. If you would have asked any of us before the season started, we would have been thrilled, I think, with a 50-win year. I mean, absolutely ecstatic with a 50-win year. The Pistons are tracking for 60-plus wins. And, and at this point, it's like whatever happens, happens, because I really do think that this coming off season is what's going to make the difference with this team, because we all need 3-point shooting. They need specifically a forward that can shoot from the long distance. But it is what it is at this point, and honestly, I think it's all house money right now. People think the Pistons are, as I said, they're not a finished product. It is what it is. And I'm not going to get uptight about Wembanyama going absolutely nuts in one game. So the Pistons are a really good team. They may not be a championship team, but they are a damn good team.
What do you guys thought on Paul Reed and getting more time? And also, do you think Langdon missed out in bringing back Malik Beasley as well to this team?
So, Paul Reed probably suffers from the fact that there's depth at that position. You have Duran in there, and then when Duran sits, you'll bring on Isaiah Stewart, and so you have to go deep to get to Paul Reed. Honestly, I love watching Paul Reed play. I mean, he's balls to the wall every time he's there. That's the kind of guy that really warms up to that Detroit fans really warm up to. He's just, when it's his turn, he's ready to play. So
hey, they named the game of basketball after him.
That's right. That's right. And as far as the Malik Beasley thing, I'm like scratching my head. It's like, what is the dilemma with him right now? I know there was a whole FBI investigation, but as far as I remember, he's cleared by, as far as the FBI is concerned, but the NBA is doing an investigation. And so I don't understand all of that, why, that you couldn't still structure a contract with Beasley. It's like, okay, if you get hosed by the NBA for violating something, there's some clauses in the contract that kick in that protect the Pistons. So I don't understand why he's actually not signed or playing. And they desperately need that 3-point shooting and the little shimmy afterwards. So,
well, the thing is too, Chris, I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but the Pistons, you mentioned Trajan, and Al was talking about finished product and so forth. And it's really this offseason that they can make the big splash. I know that the trade deadline was maybe a little bit disappointing. We already talked about Herter and Ivy, but it's really this offseason where Trajan's going to have a lot of assets at his disposal. He's going to have money. He's going to have cap space. He's going to have opportunities to do something big this summer. And that's why I don't think a lot of us are all that concerned about what happens this year, although their record clearly has raised the expectations. But in reality, I think even the diehard Pistons fans know that this is, like Al said, this is house money. I'm not trying to dismiss this season and say that I would accept a first round exit or anything like that. But you have to remember that this is really this offseason coming up is the one where Trajan can really make a lot of hay. He's got a lot of things he can do, a lot of cap space with which to do it. And I don't know off the top of my head, however, I don't know what the free agent class is like in 2026 this year. I don't know who he could take a swing at, but I think some of these issues that we're all talking about, and the experts, the so-called experts, and all the overreactors and everything, some of that can be addressed this summer, and I'm okay with that. I think that they have the goods to win a couple of rounds and maybe get to the conference finals. But you say that now. It's easy to say that now, March 6th. When you get into mid-May, you're going to be disappointed if they don't go all the way, obviously. But I think the future is bright for them regardless.
And guys, back in the 80s, Isaiah Thomas came in 81. The Pistons had a process, and it took them a number of years before they could win. And then going to back to work Pistons, they had, a couple years where they lost to New Jersey in the playoffs before they won. So you're right, right now this organization, in my opinion, is playing with house money. And I wanted to get your thoughts on JB Bickerstaff and the coaching staff and Langdon as well. And is there any more chance of sell the team for Tom Gores? I don't think so on that part.
I don't think Gores is going to sell anything, so
No.
he'll stick around.
Winning's kind of quieted that down.
He also got the team for pennies on a dollar. He really did.
He did, and he made off like a band. I mean, I think it's already like 10x of the value he paid for it. And we're stuck with him. So I don't think that's changing.
Yeah.
And honestly, I used to rip into him, but kudos for him for like swallowing all that money with Monty Williams. Usually, usually you don't do that when you're 1 year in with a 5-6 year commitment for that kind of money. You'll like say, oh, let's try another year and so on and so forth. But he was willing to pull the trigger, so give him credit for that. It took him a long time to figure out how to win too. So.
Exactly. It's so tough for these guys and women who own these pro teams. They don't. I think we talked about this in one of our recent episodes, and I think Al maybe was the one who mentioned it. Sports ownership is not their primary source of income. It's almost like kind of like a toy for them. So, but to come in as a new owner like Gores did, I don't know how many years ago, maybe it was 2012 or 20, whatever it was, 13, 14 years ago. He didn't really know what he was doing. He made some mistakes early. He gave that big contract to Stan Van Gundy, gave him all that power. That didn't work. He tried the thing with Monty. That didn't work. He's done some things that were obviously weren't the right thing to do. But to Nick's point, he did have the wherewithal to swallow that contract, and it does take some time. Mike Ilitch didn't win right out of the gate with the Tigers. He didn't win right out of the gate with the Red Wings. It takes some time. You got to get the right people in there. Tom made some bad hires, just like a lot of owners do. Mike Ilitch made some bad hires initially with the Tigers. And oddly enough, the best hire that Mike made with the Red Wings was his first one. It just didn't pan out right away. Jimmy Devellano, first guy he hired in 1982. It didn't work out right away, but Jimmy's still with the organization, albeit in obviously a much more reduced role. But 44 years later, he's still an employee of the Red Wings. So it takes time for these folks to it's rare to come in as a first-time owner. The only one I can think of, guys, correct me if I'm wrong, Tom Monahan came in 84, bought the Tigers from John Fetzer, and immediately the Tigers won the World Series. But the Tigers
that was a team that was ready-made to go.
Exactly.
It really was.
Yeah, that was a finished product.
Exactly. So you really, I'm not trying to give Tom Monahan credit for that, but very rarely does that happen when a new owner comes in and because why? Because usually when the team is being sold, it's usually because it's not doing well or that it's losing money or something. Yeah.
Yeah, Mike Ilitch was a horrible owner till he wasn't. Because look at the early years, what about the 10, 12 years before he brought in Dave Dombrowski? The Tigers were horrible. Remember Randy Smith?
Sure.
For example? Yeah.
Just like a ping pong game between trading guys to the, the Padres or the Houston. It's just like the same few guys.
Yeah, it was the Padres. You're right, yes. And that's the thing is that it's Mike Ilitch, I think there's a lot of rose-colored glasses when it comes to him. I mean, yes, he spent a ton of money on the Tigers towards the end. And obviously the Red Wings, there was no salary cap in the NHL at the time. But it took him a long time to do all that. The Tigers were in the weeds for over a decade when he first bought them. As Greg mentioned, some of the after Tom Monahan sold them, all Ilitch wanted to do was get that stadium built in downtown Detroit, get Comerica Park built. That was his main project. That's the main reason. What was this? McHale?
Yeah,
John McHale.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was his only job he was going to do as the president of the Tigers was to get a stadium built. That's all Ilitch wanted at the time. Correct. So it really bothers the hell out of me when people say, "Oh, Mike Ilitch is such a great owner." He was a great owner once the team got the stadium built, and then they got embarrassed in 2003.
Right.
I mean, if you look at the record during his ownership, it's actually pretty bad. A lot of losing seasons.
Exactly.
A ton of them, actually.
Yeah.
And I think I did the stats like a few years ago, just kind of counted up the number of like below 400 seasons, below 300. It was ridiculous.
Yeah.
And then as far as Monahan goes, he bought a ready-made product and actually ran it into the ground.
Yeah, that was John Fetzer's team.
It's also true.
John Fetzer built that team.
Yeah, so, Monahan's the guy that brought in Bo Schembechler as the president.
Bingo, yes.
So,
and fired Ernie Harwell. Yes.
Yeah.
That was
like, why would you do that kind of? That's like dumb, like of all things to do. And so, owning the team is not a trivial thing. It makes guys that are otherwise successful in other parts of their lives be mortal. You can see, I mean, every one of these guys is a billionaire that owns a team nowadays, and some are just horrible, and they don't get better. Look at Cleveland; like they're going to be the next incarnation of the William Clay Ford SOL. Same old Lions. So.
I want to come back.
Look at Jerry Reinsdorf in Chicago.
Yeah, Chicago, yeah.
They want him out.
Big ass market, and he treats that team like they're like a smaller market in Cleveland.
Yeah.
Right. No, that's a great point. I want to get back to what Chris's original question was about Bickerstaff. People looking at the graphic.
We get that rabbit hole a lot.
How is anything this to do with the Pistons? JB Bickerstaff. You asked about JB, and clearly. And we were talking about this as well. You have to get lucky sometimes. Tom Gore's made a great hire with JB, clearly. Trajan Langdon has gotten a little lucky in his short time with the Pistons. Sometimes things fall into place. We were talking about Joe Dumars on our last show, Chris, how Joe's first 5-6 years when he was running the Pistons was like he had the Midas touch. Everything that guy did worked. It was unbelievable how hot he was, the hot streak he had. Then he got cold. Well, right now, JB has clearly his players love him, love playing for him. They give him a lot of credit and genuine, sincere credit. And so that's a hire that, did Tom Gore's kind of get lucky and did JB kind of fall into his lap? Yeah, maybe. But that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. When the Tigers hired Jimmy Leland, that was not a fall in your lap kind of a thing because Jim had been out of the game for a number of years, and that was kind of a risky hire by Dave Dombrowski, but they had history together. And so that's why that hire got made, and that's right when that era of Tigers baseball that Al was talking about causes people to have rose-colored glasses about Mike Ilitch. That's when that started. But that was 14 years after he bought the team that they brought in, that they started having that kind of success. So JB's done a great job. Clearly, the players like him a lot. He gets dragged a little bit in the fan social media for, having a long bench. But that's I think that's nitpicking, quite frankly. I think that he's with what he has. The fact that they're 45-16 is phenomenal.
Do you feel this team is set up for long-term success under Bickerstaff, Langdon, and Tom Gores? And obviously, winning should help with free agency as well.
I'm gonna with Langdon. I'm gonna be a little more cautious because he's made some smaller acquisitions, like some trades and free agency that have helped the Pistons, but they're like fringe things.
Sure.
He hasn't drafted much because he hasn't had many players, because a lot of their picks were traded away.
Right.
He picked up Ron Holland, he's a solid young player.
Yep.
Chaz Lanier, is it Chad or Chaz?
Chaz.
But we don't know what he does. He's like deep in the bench, or he's going two-way, I think, with the G League team. And so, let's see what he does in the draft, picking later, not a lottery pick, and what he does with free agency, because I think I think Greg is right. What he's going to do in the offseason is going to be important to the Pistons, because the other thing that's happening is you got a lot of teams that have tanked this year. They're going to pick up, a lot of young guys in a deep draft, and they're going to get better. Indiana is not going to be this doormat they were with.
Right.
Halliburton's going to be back. They're going to have probably a high pick in there, and who knows who else they pick up. So they're going to be tough. They're well coached. They're going to be tough. Boston's going to be tough.
Yep.
Knicks, I don't know. I don't know what to say about them, but the other teams will be tough too. And so, to win a championship, you have to play the teams in the West. They're going to be tough as well. So what Langdon does this year, I think it's going to be important to even match what he's doing this year.
Do you guys feel this roster is good enough to have a long run in the playoffs in the East? Obviously, we all don't think they're ready to win a championship yet, but do you feel this team still could possibly get out of the East, or even to the Eastern Conference Championship round at least?
I think that they certainly have the goods to make it to the championship of the conference. That would, of course, mean winning 2 rounds. I think they can do that. And the reason why is I don't know if there's really a team that scares them. I think the team that they should be the most concerned about is Cleveland, quite frankly. They seem to have a difficult time with they eked out a win last week in Detroit in overtime that they really probably had no business winning. Then they lost. That was what they had no Harden for that game, and no somebody else was missing from that roster too on the Cleveland side.
Mitchell.
Donovan
Mitchell. And then they had Harden earlier this week in Cleveland, and the Cavs beat them. I think Cleveland would be the team if they didn't make it to the conference final. Let's say they played Cleveland in the second round. It wouldn't shock me if Cleveland won that series. It wouldn't shock me. It would disappoint me. It wouldn't shock me. But other than that, Chris, I think that they do have, but they have to. Their effort has, and which it has been all year. They have to play 48 minutes. They're not. They can't take nights off. They can't. They don't have the pedigree of a team that can just kind of throw their jerseys on the floor and win. They're not that good. They got to scrape for whatever they get. They play like dogs, and they're a bunch of dogs in that team, and that's why they're good, because they bring it at you for 48 minutes.
I have a feeling like Boston will be tough too.
Jason Tatum's back.
Yeah, so he's coming back. I think they're probably going to be careful with him, especially in the regular season, because that was a serious injury. But they were champs not too long ago, so they do know how to win. They know how to go deep in the playoffs. Brown is playing phenomenally. If their 3-point shooting starts working, in the playoffs, Boston's going to be tough. I would not count them out.
Right, I agree.
So I just want them to beat the Knicks.
Yeah, really. I think Nick summed it up right there. The Pistons fans want to beat the Knicks. Anything other than that is gravy, to say the least.
Right.
I think that. But yeah, when it comes to it, this team is a year away at least, and this is the off season where Trajan Langton's really going to have to. We're going to know how good of a GM he is, because this is the off season where he's going to have a ton of money between expiring contracts, and they still have all their draft picks. This is the offseason where they're going to figure out what are they going to do to give Cade his Robin to his Batman, and we'll go from there. This season is like unexpected. It's awesome, but next year is where it's all going to shake out.
By the way, the New York Knicks fans, I always remind them they haven't won a championship since 1973, and they haven't been in the final since 1999. So the Knicks fans, they don't have a lot to brag about when they haven't won a championship 52 years now. They're like the Maple Leafs of the NBA, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, like I've told Dick and Greg, the last time the Knicks were relevant when it came to that, Nixon was hiring plumbers.
Right, that's true.
Although I've seen them talk about bashing Detroit, saying they haven't won a championship in 20 years. I'm like, okay, that's not a very smart Knicks fan then. Like,
No, not at all.
For the reason you just mentioned. Like,
is there such a thing as a smart Knicks fan at this point?
kind of an oxymoron, isn't it?
Yeah.
So
before we get into the Red Wing guys, I wanted to get your thoughts on how good Cade Cunningham is, and do you see a little bit of similarities between him and Isaiah, the great Isaiah Thomas, a little bit?
Nick?
I don't. Isaiah was like a one of a kind. Man, that guy had like killer instinct, like you wouldn't believe. And if he had to, Isaiah, what I remember is if the game was on the line and he had to step up and start scoring, he would start scoring like a madman.
Yeah, right.
He would not miss. I still get goosebumps when they played the Lakers in the finals, and he scored like 25 in a quarter or something like that.
On a bad ankle.
On a bad ankle, yeah, exactly.
Hopping around
88
like
finals.
Yeah, so that is unheard of. Cade has off nights, and some nights he's not the guy to go to hand off the ball.
Right.
Isaiah's like in a league of his own, if you ask me.
Right.
I mean, he's in rarefied air.
Yeah,
So
I agree.
maybe it's a little bit biased because I grew up watching him, but there's very few like him. I would say like Larry Bird and Jordan, he's in that class.
Right,
So,
right. Yeah. Yeah, I know Nick's right. I mean, I know why you're asking the question, because because Cade is such a superstar right now. He's budding and he's growing up before our very eyes, and he's getting better and better. And I understand why he's first team All-Star. I understand why you're asking the question, because of his place in the franchise versus Isaiah's place in the franchise. But yeah, Isaiah was. I was fortunate to watch every single year of his career, of course. And the thing about him, and I still will go to YouTube and tee up old videos of those Pistons teams. The thing about Isaiah, and Nick kind of alluded to it, is that there was playmaking Isaiah who could dish out 10, 12 dimes a night. I mean, great passing, great passer, obviously. But then there were times in the game, and I can remember Game 2. I don't know if you guys remember this. Game 1 of the 1990 NBA Finals in Detroit against the Blazers. Pistons were in bad shape. They were down 12, 13, 14 points in the third quarter. It looked like Portland was going to steal Game 1. And Isaiah, which is what he did frequently, especially in the playoffs, to Nick's point, just put his scoring cap on. He was no longer playmaking Isaiah. He was going to be scoring Isaiah. And he had no intention of giving anybody else the ball. He was unconscious. If you play that game back, the third and fourth quarters of that game in 1990, he was unconscious. Nick mentioned the 25 points in the third quarter of Game 6, I think, of the 88 Finals. He did it so many. I saw him do it against the Knicks in the first round, where he scored 16 points in 90 seconds. I was at the game at Joe Louis Arena. If he decided that he was going to be the guy, he was the guy. And it's kind of ironic that Vinnie Johnson is known for that big shot. But if you look at the closing minutes of that game, in Game 5 in 1990 in Portland, it was Isaiah that led that comeback. They were down by 7 points with 2 minutes to go, and Isaiah took over. And the only reason that Vinny got that shot is because he got the pass from Isaiah. But Isaiah was, Nick's right. He was. That's like saying who's better, Jameer Gibbs or Barry Sanders. It's too early. Barry was it's just as good as Jameer is. You can't put him above Barry, and as good as Cade has been this year, you can't put him in the same zone as Isaiah. No way.
Al, thoughts?
Oh, completely agree. And if anything, I would compare Cade more to the skill wise to Grant Hill.
Yeah.
I mean,
Actually, I agree with you on that. I agree.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, obviously, because Cade is a big body. Cade's what, 6'8"? Isaiah was what, 6'2", maybe?
6'1",
Yeah, more like 6'1". Yeah, he was like pound for pound, maybe the best player in the league at his size.
Right, sure.
And they were totally different types of players, and obviously, I hate comparing guys from era to era because the game has changed so much over the years. But Cade could end up being the best player in franchise history, but he still has a ways to go. And I'm not even talking about the number of championships and things like that. I just think that Cade still needs to prove that he makes the rest of the team better for the most part, but he needs to prove it in the playoffs, and he's really yet to prove that.
Sure.
In your opinion, guys, Cade's really developed into a franchise player. But going forward, what would you all like to see, or the Pistons would like to see from Cade going forward to improve?
Easily a 3-point shot.
Sure.
If he hits like 37% from three, he'll be unstoppable. That's the thing. And he's more like a 32% shooter right now. That is what's keeping him from becoming essentially an elite. He's a superstar. But being at like SGA and Jokic level, it's the 3-point shot. That's what he needs to do.
Right.
And I would add to that a little more consistency.
Yeah.
Because he could have some kind of like pretty awful off nights, and I think he does less of this now than he did, like, say, a season or two ago, is cut down on turnovers.
Yeah.
And he has gotten better this season at that. But he's, like you said, he still has games where it's like, what are you thinking?
yeah. But he's 24.
Exactly.
So let's just he's young.
Right, of course. He's only played 6 playoff games in his career. Al was talking about that as well. These players we're talking about, I mean, these are the cream of the crop players. I mean, these are the best of the best that we're talking about, guys. And they all made their hay in the playoffs. They all. I know Al said he didn't want to talk about championships, but initially, but it is about that, and ultimately, when you have to remember, Chris, when Isaiah was drafted, that was at a time where nobody could dream you could build a championship team around a point guard. That was unheard of.
Yeah.
You had to build a championship team around a center back then.
Center.
And that was the way it was done. So, in fact, I remember Jack McCloskey told me that had Ralph Sampson come out in the draft that year, the same year as Isaiah did, he would have drafted Ralph had he had the chance. Because Al loved Al. Jack loved big men. And I believe him. I believe he would have drafted Ralph Sampson instead of Isaiah Thomas had he been given the chance. So nobody thought you could build they literally built a team around a 6'1" point guard. That's unheard of. And all those other great players of his era, Bird, Magic, and Malone, and all those guys, they were not 6'1" dudes. They were much taller than that, much more physical, and honestly more athletic than Isaiah was. Isaiah was pugnacious, and he had to be because he was 6'1".
I'm going to add one more thing about Cade. I'm going to say he's only had 2 good years to try and grow. He came in like the end with like 2 years with under Dwayne Casey.
Right.
And one of those years in his sophomore year, he got hurt early in the season, was out.
Yep.
He was gone for the year.
Right.
He came back, and then he had Monty, and I think every damn person on that roster regressed. They lost the year. Ivy especially lost the year.
Yes.
Didn't help rookie Asar Thompson. It didn't help Duran, any of those guys.
Right.
So they've had 2 very stable years with good coaching now.
Yep.
And so that's probably a better reference point is like when JB came on staff.
Yeah.
So
That's true.
they, and they've grown in the last 2 years. They are growing. So that's what you want to see. So even though he's been, I think this is Cade's 5th year then technically, but 2 real good solid years of growth. So I think the future is bright for him still. To say he's Isaiah, that'll take a career to determine that. Ask us when he retires.
Right, exactly.
So.
All right, guys, I'd like to talk a little bit about the Red Wings, and obviously they're playing tonight against Florida at Little Caesars Arena right now. But the trade deadline in the NHL was today at 3 o'clock, and Steve Yzerman did make a couple of moves. David Perron, the former Red Wing they got from Ottawa, and then Justin Falk, a defenseman from the Blues. I wanted to get your thoughts on these moves and if this is enough to help this roster get into a playoff spot for the first time in 10 years.
I'll let you guys take it. I'm sucked into the Pistons more than you guys.
Perron is a guy, Chris, that the Red Wings really liked a lot. They signed him for 2 years in 2022, and he was a very great influence in the locker room. He was a good influence on the ice. He scored some big goals. He was a good two-way player, a very coachable player. Had won a Stanley Cup with the Blues, of course, and the Red Wings hated to see him go when he did go. They're happy to have him back. Right now he's on IR. They don't expect him to play for a couple of weeks. Everybody seems to, on the roster seems to be excited to have him back. Todd McClellan says, I've never coached David, but I've heard a lot about him, and I've coached against him, and I see why he's revered by his teammates. So Todd's getting excited to coach him, Perron. Falk is a guy that, and I'm not sure if you followed his career or not, was at one time a premier offensive defenseman. 15, 16 goals a year. Big guy, 200-pound guy. He's really what the Red Wings need right now. Even though he's not, his skills have diminished a little bit offensively, but he's still what they need as far as the second pairing. I guess he's going to pair with Sherratt on the right side. It was a need that Steve Yzerman had identified going into the deadline, was a right-handed defenseman to be that second pairing, and he got it. Now it's very unusual, and for him to trade a first-round draft. I don't think Yzerman's ever traded a first-round draft pick. And you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but he traded included a first-round draft pick in this trade, which is very un-Yzerman-like. Frankly, it's a breath of fresh air that he did it. And Falk is not a rental. He's under contract for this year and next year, so this is not a rental either. This is a guy that the Red Wings are going to at least have for not only for this playoff run, but for all next season as well.
Yeah, I'm with Greg. It's like the Wings did not have an quote-unquote offensive defenseman. Mm-hmm. And this really does plug a hole they needed. This is a second pair of defensemen that can throw out there for 20 minutes a night, which they didn't really have.
Right.
And also, and Greg's right, this is the first time Yzerman has really gone in with trading because he values draft picks more than anything else. But he actually traded a first-round draft pick, but he did not have to give up any of the prospects that they've been talking up for the last few years. So this probably, in a lot of ways, it's the best of both worlds for the Wings. They got a solid player who is under contract for another year, and a not unreasonable amount of money. I think he's getting $6.5 million this year and next. And the fact is that they did not have to give up any of the guys that have at Grand Rapids right now. And I think that was the big thing. They're willing to give up the draft pick because there's not, for all the guys they have at Grand Rapids and the young guys they do have in Detroit right now, there's not enough spots for them all. So at this point, see what you got with the guys you have in Grand Rapids and the guys you have coming up. Go from there, and then this trade made a ton of sense. And I will say he had to do something, because if Yzerman had not done anything at the trade deadline, I think the fan base would have lost their minds. Because this is a team that should be in the playoffs.
Yes,
and they had to do something.
Yes, he had to do something, and I will add, but he had to do something. But this was not a trade for trade's sake either. Both of these moves addressed needs that they had.
Yes.
Perron did too, even though Perron's not healthy yet. His acquisition addresses something as well. But I want to say one real quick thing here about this deadline day today. Going over to the Blues in that Falk trade was not only that first-round pick we're talking about, but a third-round pick. And the third-round pick that went over there, Steve acquired earlier today when he traded Simon Edvinsson to Pittsburgh. It was San Jose's third-round pick, that he traded. So really, what
Yeah.
Steve did was he traded Edvinson to get that third round pick. We were all kind of like scratching our heads. Well, it was obviously as a setup to include in this trade to get Falk. So
Yeah.
essentially, what he did was Steve probably didn't think that the Blues would take Edvinson and a first for
Soderblom.
Soderblom. Sorry.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
Thanks for the correcting me. And thank you. And so what he did think that the Blues might take was this third round pick now. So that was a kind of an under the radar thing that nobody's really talking about right now. But that trade earlier in the day set up the Falk trade.
And the other thing too is, I'm guessing they're doing a calculation of, okay, this team will make the playoffs, which means their draft order will be not a lottery pick anymore, so it'll be down further in the draft.
Right.
And so it's not like it'll be a particularly high pick in the first round. And honestly, we talk about this back and forth. Like a lot of people say, oh, build through the draft. You got to cherish your prospects, your draft, and all this other stuff. Whereas, sometimes a draft strategy is trade your draft pick and get a seasoned player that will play at the NHL level. Whereas a prospect, I got this from Bob Page. He calls them suspects until they actually do well, and it's a very insightful way to describe it. Just don't tell him I said that. But you never know what a prospect's going to do. They always look good when you're drafting them, and then when you first introduce them to your fans, but you have no idea what they're going to do in the NHL until you put them in the NHL and let them play.
Personally, I think the biggest winners today in the trade deadline was the Buffalo Sabres. They ended up getting Logan Stanley, who played for the Windsor Spitfires, Luke Shen, and another forward, I believe, from the Jets, and another guy. So the Sabres, who haven't made the playoffs in 15 years, look like they're all in.
Wow.
I do agree with you. Perron and Folk are good additions. I'm going to be honest, I love the Red Wings, but I'm still not sold on this team. And lately, the last 9 games are 3-6-0. And what concerns me is the game against Vegas. They were up 3-1 in the third period at home, and they lost that game. If they was on the road, okay, they got a point. But at home, you have to win those games. And I really think, Greg, the next 6 games of the next week, they got 2 against Florida, who are still going to be tough, even though they're not going to make the playoffs. They got Tampa Bay, New Jersey, Dallas, and Calgary. I think in the next week or so, we're going to find out if this is a playoff team or not.
Hey, you're preaching to the choir. You really are.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure. We're right there with you. We're all holding our breath right now because 3 years in a row, 23, 24, and 25, they've shit the bed in down the stretch, and here we are, all prepared for them to do it again. So Al's right. You're preaching to the choir for sure.
Yeah,
Hope I'm wrong.
The only thing that might save them and get them into the playoffs is they've had a much stronger showing in the early part of the season up through January. So they're, even in those last few years, they might have been in kind of like the playoff hunt, but they would have been like the last team in.
Right. Right.
Now, I mean, it's actually the teams they're like about 6 or 7 teams are really close together. They're not that far apart.
Yeah, very.
So it could vary wildly. I think if they start really losing, which is what all of us have been concerned about, it's like it is always after some kind of all-star break that it just they go down in flames. So we'll see, if McClellan can steer the ship out of away from the iceberg in this one.
Right.
Hey, while we're talking hockey, and we have Chris with us, we're with Chris, and what is your take, Chris, on the Olympics, specifically the what happened with the gold medal game with the U.S. winning and the fallout from that? How has Canada taken that loss?
Disappointment. The Canadian women, the American women were the stronger team. The Canadian women, they held the lead for 58 minutes, and unfortunately they couldn't hang on, and they got a silver medal. The men, I thought the men, for the most part, outplayed the Americans, but Hellebuck, the Winnipeg goalie, was outstanding. And you know what? Even though I'm disappointed that the women and the men lost, it's good for the game of hockey. It's good for the American hockey program. And also, I think the game of hockey is the biggest winner. If this league could get more exposure with these kinds of games, I think hockey play at the highest level, like that gold medal game, both those gold medal games at that level, I think it's great. Women's hockey has come a long ways, guys, but I would like to see the other countries get stronger. Obviously, the U.S. has a strong team, Canada, but the other women's teams aren't so strong. So women's hockey still has a little ways to go. But as for the men's hockey, like I said, it was great hockey, man. I could watch that in a best of seven series anytime.
Yeah, I'm with you. It's like I'm all for best on best hockey. Like much like the Four Nations last year. It was absolutely thrilling to watch. And essentially what happened to Canada, they got goalied.
Yep.
Hellebuck stood on his head. And that was the difference in the game.
By the way, guys, I'd rather have 3-on-3 in that overtime game than that bloody shootout. So I'm glad it was decided by a bloody shootout. You know what I mean? I'll take 3-on-3 anytime over a shootout.
It's enjoyable as hell to watch 3-on-3 hockey. I haven't really. If you ask me, I think it played into. You have the NHL players there, and I would guess the NHL owners did not want to see their players possibly playing overtime after overtime after overtime, 5-on-5, 3-on-3. It's going to end early, and I think I think that really played into it. But it was still enjoyable as hell to watch. I had a great time watching it, no matter who won. And I love best on best hockey. I'm with you there. Mm-hmm.
Hopefully, hockey can get more exposure in the States. Do you feel this will help with getting more younger youth into the game of hockey in the States with this gold medal win? You think it'll have the same impact that the 1980 team did a little bit?
Possibly.
Maybe not the same impact, but there is an impact. 1980, that was just... Everything was, it had the Cold War and everything else factoring into that. So there are some similarities, but nothing will ever compare to the Miracle on Ice team.
Right.
I'll tell you one thing I learned just recently. So, Chris, I don't know if you know, I'm not in Detroit anymore. I'm in Seattle. I've lived here for like 20 years now. And a friend of mine went to the women's the games for the women's pro team out here in Seattle. And I was thinking it would be like some low turnout sort of event, but at least the opening night had 16,000 people out of a arena that held like 18,000 something. Wow. I was shocked. I was shocked how full that was.
Yeah.
I mean, that's where the Seattle Kraken play. Mm-hmm. So
right.
So, by the way, I wanted to ask you this. I think Detroit could get a professional women's hockey league team.
I'm surprised they don't already. Be honest.
I know. Well, I think friend of our show, Keith Gave, is like really beating the drum for the, Michigan and Michigan State to have a women's team too, and the state of Michigan just like for some reason isn't putting in women's teams of any kind in. So
why is that? I'd be curious. Why is that?
I have no idea. Like hockey in Michigan, like.
Yes.
State and University of Michigan both have long-standing men's programs, and well, hell, Western has one. Northern Michigan Tech, like so.
Western's the defending national champions.
That's right.
Fact. Yeah.
By the way, guys, I think right now being in the Toronto area, the gold medal games did sting for maybe a week or so, but I think right now the Toronto Maple Leafs being almost dead last, I think that's what everyone's focusing on here right now. And even though I'm not a Leafs fan, I didn't expect him to come back to earth this badly. I know they lost Mitch Marner to Vegas, but the Maple Leafs right now have just completely fallen off the wagon, and the fan base here is just losing their minds over this year.
Oh, that's great news if you ask me.
To me, they are.
Hey, we're Wings fans. We despise the Leafs. Trust me, we do.
They are like the Dallas Cowboys of the NHL.
Yes, that's a great comparison.
Yeah, you know what too. I think what about the Leafs. Obviously, we all know about the 1967 thing and everything, but I think what the modern fan is worried about, and I'm not there, so I'm guessing this is their concern, is that the Leafs had so many years of a window of opportunity to be a really, really good team and to go all the way, and as you know, always choke in the playoffs, always. And now it looks like they might be. I mean, it's still early, but they might be headed toward a rebuild situation there. And if that's the case, it may not be a complete tear it all down kind of rebuild, but they're going to have to at least a reboot. Let's put it that way. And I
A reboot? Come on, put a little Canadian into the boot.
Yeah, a little reboot. They're looking at another handful of years of maybe, kind of not making the playoffs or barely making it, or not. They just don't have that same luster that they had when they were a really, really good regular season team, and they were hiring Mike Babcock, and Brendan Shanahan was there, and they looked like, and then they got Matthews, and looked like everything was falling into place, and they could never put it together in May.
You know how much joy we get out of the Leafs getting knocked out in the first round?
By the way, Brendan Shanahan, I don't think was a problem with that team. Same with Mike Babcock as well. It's dysfunctional. They are owned by Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment, and they're a corporation, and they do not hire the right hockey people. And unfortunately, Craig Berube is probably going to be fired very soon, I figure by the end of this year. I know the Leafs are still only 8 points out with 20 games to go, but Boston has 2 games in hand on them. And right now, the Leafs, they couldn't even beat the Rangers last night. New York hadn't won a home game in regulation time in 101 days at Madison Square Garden.
Wow.
And the Rangers walked right over them 6-2. So for me, I don't think they're going to trade their core 4, but this team is going to be in salary cap hell for the next couple years. So there's going to be an interesting offseason in Toronto specifically for the Leafs.
Tell us some more good news.
Well, I wanted to talk to you guys a little more about the Red Wings goaltending situation. John Gibson and Cam Talbot. Are these 2 goalies good enough to get this team into the playoffs too? I still have my doubts on Gibson and Talbot.
I'm with you there. It's questionable. It really is. Gibson's played great, but can he hold up through the playoffs? And it's yet to be seen. And the future of the team is Kosa, at least as of right now.
Right.
And he comes up, may play for a game or 2, and then they send him back down to Grand Rapids. I'm with you. I as well as he's played, and he's played damn well, I'm not sold on their goaltending, and that's been a weakness for this Wings team for a very long time.
Yeah. I'm with Al. Right now, let's just get to the playoffs, because we had Keith Gabe on last week, and we were like, if they do this thing again to the fans where they fritter away a playoff spot. Nick's right about in the past, these playoff spots that they frittered away were like the last 1 or 2 spots. That's true, but they still were in the playoffs as late as mid to late March, only to fall out of the playoffs. So if they do it again, despite this, like Nick said, the good start they had in the first half of the year and banked all those points and kind of used those as not like a little cushion. But there's not much cushion because, again, it's been pointed out, the standings are so tight right now. There really isn't a cushion, so to speak. You really don't have can't have a 3 or 4 game losing streak right now. You can't do that. And so right now, it's a good question. But right now, I just want to see if they can make it to the playoffs before we start asking about goaltending in the playoffs.
And I'm going to add in too. It's kind of like a similar situation as the Pistons. I think during this season there are just maybe 4 or 5 guys that do all the scoring,
right?
With an occasional goal here and there from the others, but it's Larkin, DeBrincat, Kane every so often, and Raymond, and I don't know if anybody else necessarily that stands out. But if those guys get cold, they're cooked.
Right.
because the other guys don't step up. You know, you're talking about like,
And that's what the
10, 12
playoffs are all
scorers.
about. The teams that win in the playoffs are teams that get scoring from the second and third lines,
Fourth lines
Yeah.
in some cases.
fourth lines in
But-
some cases. Yeah, sure.
And by the way, the Red Wings, Florida, right now are tied 1-1
Yeah.
towards the end of the second period. DeBrincat scored again. This
There you
looks
go.
like it's
There
going
you
to be a
go.
1 or 2 game. So,
Yeah.
so this is I know Florida's the back-to-back champs, but they're not even in a playoff spot. So to me,
Right.
this is a huge game for
Oh,
the
yeah.
Red Wings because
Oh, sure.
you got to take care of your home ice, but you also got to beat teams that are below you in the standings. So
Yes.
I'm kind of nervous about tonight's game,
Yeah, I
especially
agree with
being
you.
1-1.
I agree, 100%.
Yeah. So
What thoughts on Simon Edvinsson? How much has he developed as a defenseman?
I'll let you guys handle this one. I haven't watched enough to say.
it's funny with defensemen, Chris, because the metrics on them are different. It's I know that they have metrics. They have metrics for everything, obviously, but with defensemen, it's more of an eye test thing. You can't just pull up a defenseman's stats. I mean, the geeks will, because they've got all these different metrics, but you really have to watch a kid play. A guy really play. Sider's a good example.
Yes.
Sider, to me, has always had an intangible about him. There was a roughness, an edge to him that I've always liked about him. Now, he's had some slumps where he's made some questionable decisions in his own zone. He's shored that up a lot this year. This is probably his best season in Detroit. Sider, I'm talking about. But back to Edvinsson. Ed is he's a big presence. He's a big physical presence. I think he's getting better. I think he's got a little bit of a chip on his shoulder like Sider does, but I don't know yet. Again, this is why I've always been a proponent of making the playoffs. All these guys we're talking about have question marks because we've never seen them in the postseason. Sider, we've never seen in the postseason. We've never seen Raymond in the postseason. So why? Because the Red Wings don't try to make the playoffs as hard as they could, I think. So now we don't know about like Edvinsson. It's the same thing. I don't know. His maturation is going to come in these games in April and May. Should they play them?
Yeah, hell, Greg, you can say the same thing about Larkin, for example.
Sure, of course.
Yeah, you know,
Was he on that 16 team that last made the playoffs?
that was his only playoff experience. Exactly.
19-year-old kid, yeah.
Yep.
And that was only 4 games he played?
Exactly.
Yeah, they didn't last long.
Yeah, and as Greg says, it really, especially in the NHL and for that matter the NBA, it's the playoffs where rivalries are made and reputations are made. And that's why this is why this damn team needs to make the damn postseason. They need to. Just for, like, as Greg says, just to get the exposure. I don't even care if they even win a series at this point.
Right.
I want them in there and getting the experience, and then we can go from there. And Edvinsson is one of those guys, much like Larkin and some of these other guys, they desperately need postseason experience.
Right.
By the way, the Sabres right now look like they're going to end their playoff streak unless they have a collapse. And their number one goalie is former Red Wing Alex Lyons. And by the way, Alex Lyons, he's played.
I can't help myself. I'm sorry.
He's played well for the Sabres. But if the Sabres end their playoff drought and Detroit doesn't get in, then Detroit will have the longest playoff drought at 10 years as well. So it would be, I agree with you guys. Just get into the playoffs. What happens. But it's time for this franchise to get back into the playoffs, at least
Exactly.
into the first round.
That sums it up perfectly. Get to the playoffs, and whatever happens, and then we'll deal with the fallout. You nailed it right there.
I'm going to bring up one other thing about the Red Wings. So we've talked about them we talked about this characteristic last year, and especially last year, but the last few years. And I'm bringing it up because they have essentially the same roster, more or less. Is that they were considered really soft. They were really, really soft, and I think Perron, him coming back.
Yep.
I don't think they worry so much about his goal scoring, but he's a little prickly, and I think they need that, actually. Right. And like I'll compare him to the Pistons again. The Pistons can get pretty prickly and gritty, and like Isaiah Stewart loses his mind and comes off the bench and starts pounding Miles Bridges. So, that's the kind of attitude they used to have. I mean, every Wings fan remembers Darren McCarty just like seething for a year to beat the hell out of Claude Lemieux.
Right.
Sandpaper. They need more sandpaper.
Hey, how often do Greg and I bring up Bill Ahead? But what he didn't do anything in his career, but that one damn playoff goal. We're talking back in the 70s. Well, what was that, like mid 70s, Greg? When he won that playoff series with that goal.
Yep.
And Greg and I to this day still bring it up, which says volumes about how important playoffs are.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, to me, the NHL is better when cities like Buffalo and Detroit are in the playoffs. So I'm hoping.
And when Toronto's out.
Yes, Buffalo and Toronto get in, and Toronto gets out. But I do have some friends in Toronto, by the way. And by the way, Brendan Shanahan's brother, Brian's going to be on my show Monday. He's a Hall of Fame lacrosse player. And
really?
And I hope one day Detroit gets an indoor lacrosse team again. They had the Detroit Turtles at the Joe Louis Arena back in the 1990s. So Brian's going to come on, and he is such a nice guy. And I'm hoping Brandon will get a job again in the NHL. I really don't feel Brandon, it was his fault. Scotty Bowman couldn't have won with the Leafs. Mike Babcock couldn't win with the Leafs. It's really like the Dallas Cowboys. It's dysfunctional, and I really think Brandon Shanahan will get another opportunity as a president or even a GM in the NHL at some point.
We'll see.
I actually really enjoyed all of those like late '80s Leafs Red Wings playoff series with John Brophy and his little chip thing and I'm not as hated. I don't hate it Toronto as much. I hate seeing like the teams from the desert being in the hockey playoffs or being in hockey in general. It's like, although I respect Vegas. They built that team well.
Hey guys, if you guys have a few more minutes, I just wanted to get your thoughts on the Detroit Tigers. I know it's spring training right now. They won today 11-3 over Boston, but not really concerned about results. I just wanted to get your thoughts on this 2026 Detroit Tigers team, the expectations, and thoughts about bringing Justin Verlander back after a 10-year absence.
Hey, first off, we could talk sports for hours, so don't worry about that.
That's right.
Okay.
But the thing with Verlander, I mean, I love the idea that he's coming back. I mean, he's I don't know if it's. I'm not one for the Hall of Fame who wears what the hat he wears is and all that. But he's a Detroit guy. I mean, Detroit is what made him. Even though what he did in Houston was awesome, he's a Tiger. He's a Tiger for life. His name is going to end up. Number is going to end up retired. No, full stop. The thing is with Verlander, I think that fans have to realize. I mean, we all think of Verlander as that 2011 to 2014 Verlander, MVP, Cy Young winner, throwing no hitters, and the fan base still thinks of him in that way, even though we're talking about a 43-year-old guy that we're hoping to get a 4 ERA and maybe 150 to 170 innings out of. So, I mean, I love that he's here, and I think it's a great signing. It's a smart signing, but we need to hold our expectations in check when it comes to Verlander.
That's right. I mean, he is a 43-year-old. Last year, he didn't have that great of a season in San Francisco. I think he only had like 5 wins and like quite a few losses. He picked it up, I think, later in the year because I think he was like 0-something until like July, August, and then he picked it up. So, and he might have even had an injury, but if he wins 10 games for the Tigers, and has that 4 ERA, and he stays healthy, that's a win. He's going to be the 5th starter. He's in that position now. He's not the ace anymore. So,
any chance that AJ could use him out of the bullpen as a long reliever?
No, they didn't sign him to do that.
No. So he'll be the 5th starter. Okay.
No, that's why they have guys like Montero to do.
Yeah.
Exactly.
sent
You know,
down.
he is going to be thrown out there. He's going to go out every 5 days and hope to get 5 to 6 innings out of him. That's essentially what Verlander's here to do. And they really do need that. They need a guy that they can come.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, yeah. In today's MLB, you need like 8 starters. You
Sure.
really do.
Yeah, that's true.
What do you guys thought about signing Valdez from the Houston Astros and Kenley Jensen, who's been with the Dodgers, Angels, and now the Tigers? And do you think the Tigers obviously are gonna come in and have good pitching and good defense, but did they do enough in the offseason to get more offense, get another big bat, or do you see one of the young kids providing that power?
McGonigal right now is what you're seeing in spring training. That I think that's the reason why they didn't look to upgrade the offense, because they figured they were hoping that McGonigal would step up and he go, we can put you at shortstop, and you have hopefully an elite bat. Maybe not this year, but in the future. The guy, and he just hit a 461-foot home run against the Dominican Republic All-Star team, for Christ's sake. The guy he's the future of the team offensively, and I think they had a lot of reason why they didn't do much when it came to upgrading the offense. But Valdez is a big deal just because it kind of shut up the fan base that the owner, Chris Ilitch, did not want to spend money. And they made a very smart deal with him in that a 3-year deal, big money, but short term. That is perfect for this team. And, I honestly, guys, I don't know about you, but I think I'm surprised that Valdez signed such a short deal, considering what kind of some of the deals we're seeing pitchers get today. For example, what we're seeing, we're seeing pitchers get 8, 9, 10-year deals, and Valdez gets a high value but short-term deal. That's perfect for the Tigers. And honestly, more teams, I'm surprised he did it, but more teams would love to do that kind of thing. But I'm actually shocked that the Tigers ended up doing it, because most of us thought they're not spending any money, and next thing you know, they're dropping $32 million a year on a starting pitcher.
And I think Valdez is on the older side in the sense that I think the prime years are like something between 28 and 32.
Oh, yeah, you're right there, yeah.
And
he's on the upper end of that, yeah.
I think he's 32, if I remember correctly. About
correct.
There. And
yeah.
so in 3 years, he's about 35, right?
Was he in Houston when A.J. Hinch was the manager there?
Yes.
Yes, he was.
AJ,
yeah.
So maybe
yeah, which
AJ
probably
had
played into it as well.
In my opinion.
Yep.
And so that short contract is great, and the whole question with Skubal is like, I think any Tiger fan would love for him to like retire a Tiger. Like I think that's an easy statement to make, but the money's going to play into it. Do you give Skubal, who's I think 30 this year,
29, 30, yeah. You want to pay him $400 million until he's 40. That's the question you have to answer. And I think a lot when you think about it, no, pitchers should not get that. I hate to say it, as good as Skubal has been, as good a lot of these pitchers are, you cannot justify giving a pitcher that kind of term, considering how volatile they are.
Yeah, but somebody will.
Skubal's the guy who has
That's the problem. Somebody will.
Yeah, and Greg's right. Someone will. That's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
Dodgers, Yankees, Red Sox.
The usual suspects, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I want to talk real quick. I know we're running short, but
Yeah,
I want to real quick talk about one of the guys that's on your screen right now, Kenley Jansen.
Yes.
Because nobody's really talking about him. And this is a guy who, if you look at his resume, he's going to be 39 in September. If you look at his resume, he's remarkably consistent for a late innings reliever. These late innings relievers, especially when they get past 35 or so, they can really go off the cliff fast. Jansen's numbers for his entire career, I think he's pitched 16 seasons now, are remarkably consistent. The guy hasn't really ever had a quote unquote bad year, and that's phenomenal for somebody who does what he does. Nobody's really.
I would just
talking
say this,
about-
Greg. We used to be able to. We could have said the same about Joe Nathan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although Nathan may
But
not have done
I can understand signing him. I'm with you.
Yeah.
I didn't have no problems with the signing.
Yeah.
But we do have to remember we have seen these kind of signings blow up with the
sure,
Tigers in the
sure.
past. Yeah.
Is Jansen automatically the closer, or is it going to be a by committee?
Oh, it's by the committee. No doubt about it. That's how AJ Hinch rolls. The hot hand will get the closing.
Right? Which is in contrast to Jim Leland, who
Yes.
this guy is assigned the 7th inning, this guy the 8th, this guy's the closer's the 9th inning guy, no matter what, no matter if they're going into extra innings. Always drove me nuts.
Hey, I'm all for pitching chaos. I'm telling you.
Now in the American League, you still got the Blue Jays. I still think are going to be a contender. The Yankees, Boston, Seattle. Do you think Detroit will add a bat or add somebody before the trade deadline? And
If they do, it'll be the trade deadline. It'll be at the deadline.
And how much of a factor? And I want to add this, Greg. It looks like it looks like there's going to be a lockout in 2027. How much of an impact can that have on teams, especially the Tigers, on doing moves with the uncertainty of 2027?
That's the $64,000 question. You can ask that of every team in the big leagues. I have no idea. It's a good question. I have no idea. To say there's a cloud over 2027 is putting it mildly. Likely there won't be baseball, at least at the beginning of the season. I don't know how long that'll last. But we don't know. Every team is in that boat, though. Even the big spenders are in that boat in terms of how will it affect. I really don't know. I suspect some teams may use it as a crutch or as an excuse for why they maybe don't do certain things. But it's hard to really call it an excuse. I mean, it's a legitimate concern. I mean, Scooble is this. That's what makes the Scooble thing so fascinating as well. He's squarely in the crosshairs of this whole thing. His big payday starts when baseball might stop. It's kind of a fascinating situation.
Yeah, he could lose an entire year of his career. It's possible.
Sure. Absolutely.
What are your thoughts of former Tagger Tony Clark stepping down as Major League Baseball Player Association union?
I'm surprised it took this long.
Yeah.
Honestly, between the rumors going around of the financial malfeasance and the fact that they were being investigated by the feds, and then what it took him to get the leader job was essentially having an affair with his sister-in-law.
Yeah. Right.
I mean, it's hilarious that it got to this point. But I remember texting these two. I said, Marvin Miller is rolling in his grave that the fact they have someone this incompetent running the most powerful union in the United States.
Yeah.
And
do you guys feel a hard salary cap is the answer?
I think salary caps are bullshit. I hate caps. I hate lotteries. I hate all that stuff. I think Nick and Greg would agree.
Yeah.
I go a little bit back and forth on the salary cap.
Have a floor.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, you have to have a salary floor. Otherwise, you end up with teams like Pittsburgh and, Sacramento.
Right.
I wanted to say Oakland real quick.
Even Tampa Bay.
Or even Tampa Bay, exactly. Taking getting revenue sharing money back, yet not investing in their teams. I'm on the players completely with this. They should not be a salary cap at any league, because all it does is protect billionaires from themselves.
Yep.
If they can't contain themselves from spending money, why stop them? That's always been my opinion when it comes to salary caps.
Playing devil's advocate, Los Angeles Dodgers right now, they're getting, unless you're a Dodgers fan, everybody in Major League Baseball hates the Dodgers right now because their payroll is almost, $400 million.
Yeah, but on the opposite, I would say the Yankees have pretty much done the same thing and have not won championships. It's not about spending money, it's about spending money smartly.
And the Dodgers have done
and
that.
the Dodgers do it smartly. The Yankees, for example, didn't. And I'm sorry, Chris Ilitch and the Ilitch Holdings, for example, here in Detroit, they're worth, I think, $7-8 billion. So I am not going to go, oh, we need a salary cap to make this team profitable or whatever, or to save this team from themselves. I am completely with the players in that pay what the market rate is, and if you don't want to pay it, then don't pay those players and let another team do it. It's pure. It's been that way for years. The NFL does it right, at least with the draft. No, there's when it comes to the draft, there's no lottery. Whoever's last picks first, so on and so forth. But when it comes to salary caps, if you're going to have a salary cap, you have to have a floor. And even then, the salary cap should be ridiculously high, because then you end up with what we're seeing in the NBA, when no one knows what the hell is going on when they're talking about first apron and second apron, and restricted free agency. No one knows. So keep it simple and go from there. I don't know about how these guys feel, but that's my opinion on all this.
I've normally felt not to have a salary cap, because why shouldn't the players be able to make market value and be suppressed?
Yeah, exactly. Market value. Bingo.
Honestly, the salary cap killed the Red Wings. Mm-hmm. That 202 team was like off the charts. When your third line center is in the Hall of Fame, that's a deep team.
Hey, remember how exciting the trade deadline day was back then?
It used to be, yes.
Oh, for sure.
Yes.
For sure.
Yeah.
I didn't even watch it today in Canada on TSN. I just had no interest in it.
Yeah.
And, had free agency, and but once the salary cap was imposed, the Wings had to shed players. And they did they also took a step back because they had Dave Lewis as their coach. But so I'm all for like a strong union and having players be able to pick which team they play for.
Yeah, and remember when you bring up the Red Wings, remember they literally had to trade Pavel Datsyuk's contract?
Yes.
Yes, because of the salary cap, which is and to this day, the Ilitch family, I think, still holds that against him, which is why his jersey isn't retired. I mean, we saw how the grudge they held against Sergei Fedorov for decades.
Datsyuk's jersey will get retired one day. I never thought I'd see Sergei Fedorov's number get retired, and the Red Wings finally did. So Pavel Datsyuk will get retired as well. But then what do you tell the small market teams like Kansas City and Pittsburgh? We can't compete. What do you say to those fans or those organizations then?
You're owned by a billionaire.
You're owned by a billionaire, and you can revenue share.
Yeah, you're collecting revenue, and Nick said you're collecting revenue sharing money. Really, that's what it is.
So,
what are your thoughts? Oh, go ahead, Nick. Go ahead.
One of the thoughts I wanted to throw out is like you want to see the salary cap be just like a big old mess. Is look at the NBA, the trade deadline. Half of those trades are just to jockeying for position in their cap or getting cap relief.
Can anybody explain what the first and second aprons are?
No.
No.
I can't.
Yeah.
It's to cover their ass. I mean,
yeah.
Not that kind of apron, but. So.
Oh, but one thing, Al, the more the salaries go up, the more the ticket prices and the food go up. In Toronto, the ticket prices for the Blue Jays games are now as bad as the Leafs. I don't know how families of 4 or 5 can afford to go to sporting events nowadays.
Honestly, I do agree with you there, but I think that ship sailed long ago.
Yes,
it really did. I mean,
true.
Go ahead, Al. Sorry.
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Nick. Please.
I was going to say, like, I saw some stats on like where revenue comes from in the various leagues, and I think in the NHL in particular, it's a heavy percentage from ticket sales. But with like other sports, it isn't. It's from like television and like other sources. So I think NFL in particular, a lot of it's from television. Like a ton.
Oh yeah, we're already seeing. I've been reading today that the NFL is going to reopen their contracts. Even though they're in deals till 2029.
Wow.
They see where the market's going. They're going to make these networks essentially buy out the years that are still coming, and we're going to re-up because live sports is one of the few things that people will still pay attention to on network television. So yeah, it's I feel bad that I don't like going to games anymore. It's too expensive. Parking's expensive. Everything's expensive when it comes to. I haven't gone to a game in probably 5 or 6 years, and I probably will never go to a game again because one, I'm old. 2, it's uncomfortable as hell because TV is a far better experience. And 3, be the overall thing. You're right. It's too goddamn expensive. But I think when it really comes down to, I think the teams themselves know that it's about TV money now. It's not about, as Nick mentioned, attendance money. It's all about TV money. I wouldn't be surprised in 15, 20 years, we're going to see empty stadiums and massive TV ratings because that's essentially where we're headed right now. Look at bowl games. Bowl games, right? We're seeing that right now with bowl games.
Well, and the technology, the good news for the fan is that the technology is such that the watching the game at home experience has gotten better because the quality of the televisions. We're not talking about tube TVs from the 1970s. We're talking high definition televisions. Everybody has 50, 60, 70-inch screens now at home to watch these games. You can grab a beer from the fridge that's a lot cheaper than a beer at the ballpark. And a ballpark experience is kind of like going to the theater nowadays. You do it maybe once.
Good point.
Once every so often.
Exactly.
You're going to spend a lot of money.
Yep.
It's not like it was in the old days where I would drive down to the ballpark,
or even the 70s and 80s. I would go several times a year.
Right, and the tickets were a couple of bucks for the bleachers, or whatever. And
Oh, yeah, remember the bleachers at Tiger Stadium were what, $2?
$2,
something like that.
$2.
Yeah.
But now, why wouldn't you watch it all? I'm surprised. To be quite honest, I'm with Al. I'm surprised attendance figures are as high as they are. Quite frankly,
I learned that it's all about the playoffs now. I think at this point,
right.
People will show up for playoffs, but regular season games, especially when you're talking baseball, 162 games, or hell, 82 games in the NBA or NHL. And don't even get me going on load management. You buy a ticket to see see San Antonio and the Pistons, and half of San Antonio is sitting. Yeah. Why at this point? I would rather just watch the game at home and enjoy it from there. Greg's right.
By the way,
I was just going to add this one thing. You missed the most important advantage of watching from home. My own refrigerator and my own toilet.
Bathroom. Absolutely.
It's by the way, than anything I'm going to find in a stadium.
Yeah.
By the way, if I do go to sporting events the last 6 years, I've gone as media. So, sporting event now, I go as media. I don't have to pay for parking. I don't have to pay for food, and I don't have to worry about using the public washrooms up in the media press box.
Greg can relate because Greg used to be media himself. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, Nick and I, we're just a couple of interlopers.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
But hey, as we wrap up this show, guys, I wanted to ask you guys. This is a new segment on my show. It's called "Ask the Host Question." Which one of you three would like to put me on the hot seat as we wrap this up?
Wow. I'll ask you. I remember we talked about this when we had you on our show. How are things going with the CFL?
CFL right now has got their fans pissed off. They got a new commissioner, Stuart Johnson, who was with TSN as an executive. They are now getting rid of the 55-yard line. They're cutting the field down from 110 to 100 yards like the NFL. They're moving
sacrilege.
They're moving the goalposts behind the end zone. They're cutting the end zones from 20 yards down to 15. A lot of CFL fans and traditionalists here are not happy right now with the changes. But being in media, I do some media coverage for the league. I'm open to some of the changes. They're thinking if they make the game more like the NFL, the younger people will come. A lot of the fan bases in the CFL here are older people like myself, and they're trying to get the younger people involved. So they're trying to make it more into the NFL, but they're also risking alienating their longtime fans as well. So the next 2 years in the CFL, it's going to be very interesting to see if these major changes work. But the college football here in Canada, they're still staying the same rules. So it's going to be interesting in 2026 and 2027 as well. And it's going to affect the kicking game too, with the goalposts being put behind the end zones like the NFL. By the way, the NFL used to have them at the front of the goal lines before 78. So it's going to be an interesting next 2 years with the Canadian Football League with these changes. So we'll see what happens. I'm keeping an open mind as media.
What happens to the Rouge? That's an important question.
The Rouge, I think from what I've been told, they're going to eliminate the Rouge.
Oh
no!
I think that they had a couple of games this year where guys just deliberately kicked the ball out of the end zone and got a point and won the game. So I think they're going to be tweaking that rule as well. And when I find out more about it, I'll let you guys know. But the next 2 years is going to be a lot of changes to the CFL. But they are getting their games now back on CTV again, so people in the border cities can actually watch it. So I'm lucky. I love the CFL. I love the NFL and college football. So being Canadian, I get football, pro football, 9.5 out of 12 months. And the CFL's training camp opens up in May, so I don't have to wait to July. So I love the CFL, and I'm hoping these changes help get more fans develop. The TV ratings are great for the CFL here. It's just the CFL is a gate-driven league still. They don't have the big TV contract that the National Football League does with their networks, and that's one of the biggest differences between the games. Is CFL relies on the fans sitting in the stadium. Like Greg said, the NFL could play in front of empty stadiums and still make profits due to the TV contracts. Yeah,
because Greg and I are old enough to remember when the Grey Cup was a better game than the Super Bowl.
Yes.
It was much more entertaining.
Yes.
Did you watch this year's Super Bowl? It wasn't very entertaining.
Yeah, no, exactly.
I actually got a media pass for that game, but I decided something came up. I probably should have gone in hindsight, but then when I watched it at home, I'm like, I made the right decision. It was not that great of a game. It was not that great of a game. So, but hey guys, I want to say thank you so much for coming on. Before we wrap this show up, can you just tell my audience here about your long-running podcast, the Knee Jerks podcast, when your next episode is, and again, how often you record, and where can our audience follow you guys?
I'm sure they over to Greg, because Greg always does that on our podcast. So.
Well, as far as where you can catch us, that's the part that Al usually does, but I know I've heard...
Well, I would say go to the kneejerks.net.
Yeah, kneejerks.net is the place to go. We are wherever podcasts are sold. You can find us there. But we've been doing the show, Chris, since May of 2009, so this will be our 17th.
It's been that long?
Yeah. And I was
You're one of the first.
I was doing some quick math. We did weekly for years, and then we switched to bi-weekly. So you're at the beginning. You asked how many shows we've done. It's in the hundreds, not hundreds. Hundreds.
I got that 100 from Apple Podcasts. I guess when I checked you on Apple Podcasts, it only said 100 episodes. But
that's I don't know why that is, but we've been doing it since 2009, and we record every other Monday as a rule. We'll be recording this Monday the 9th, so every other Monday we drop a new episode.
Who have been some of your most memorable guests you've had on the show, besides me?
Greg Campy. No, I would say Greg Campy, the head coach of Oakland University, the Grizzlies.
Yeah.
Didn't he kind of admitted to a few things on the show? What the hell was he talking about, Greg, if you remember?
Yeah, well, he it's funny you mentioned that, because Greg Campy just recently coached. He had yet another milestone in his career. I don't know how many.
He's like top 5 in college wins or something.
And games coached, I think.
Games coached and everything.
Yeah.
And what Al's referring to, one of the things that he said to us, besides just being candid in general, was
Yeah.
he said that he had a chance in the early '90s to
Yes,
be an
that's it.
assistant coach in the NBA. He didn't tell us who that was, but then there was a story that came out on Campy just recently. And I think Carlos Maneros, who we don't like, actually wrote a nice piece about Greg Campy. And in that piece, Campy said that when Jack Buklowski took over as the GM of the Timberwolves in '92 after he left the Pistons, he offered Campy a job as an assistant coach then. So that's the job that Campy was referring to. He didn't take it. He wanted to stay where he was at Oakland, and has been there ever since. But yeah, Al's right. Greg Campy was a very, 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 very good guest. We've had a lot of them. A lot of.
But I would say, one of our favorites is Ray Scott.
Oh yeah, former Pistons coach and player. Yeah. Ray's been a great friend of the show.
And I would just say the late Jamie Samuelson was another one.
Yeah,
that's somebody I wish I was able to interview him. I've heard nothing but great things about him, and I used to listen to him on WFAN 11:30 in Detroit.
Yeah, WDFN in 11:30 in Detroit. No one in the planet will have a bad thing to say about Jamie Samuelson.
No.
He was an awesome person. He really was. And he would come on yearly with us, even when he was in the in his non-compete era. You know, after he had left WDFN and couldn't work anyplace else, he would come on our podcast and just shoot the shit for an hour. He was just an awesome person.
Yeah, great guy.
Yeah.
You know, even though I don't live in Detroit, I've had a lot of media people, personalities come on, and I really appreciate it, man. Everybody in this industry has been really good with me, and they treat me like I've been in this industry for 20, 25 years as well. And Dan Miller, by the way, shout out to Dan Miller. He's been on my show a couple times. He's one of my favorite guys. And Brad Gallion and Sean Belegian, who's on Woodward Sports. He's been on my show a few times as well. And like I said, it's the guests that make a great show. I'm just the host.
We had Matt Gary on a few times. Matt's a good guy to talk Lions with.
Ken Cal is also another
Ken
fun
Cal,
guy to
voice
talk
of the
to.
Red Wings. He's on
my bucket list. By the way, I got a quick story about Ken Cal. Back in the 90s, before they had all this technology, I wrote to Ken snail mail. Ken was kind enough to write me back. And at the time, I wish they had this technology. And I told Ken, I said, by the way, Ken, I might be 25 years late. I'm now in media and radio, and Ken remembered me, and that's somebody I would love to have a chance to interview one day, because Ken's been on the voice of the Red Wings now for 30 years. He's only 1 year behind Bruce Martin, who did it for 31 years.
Yeah, we pretty much have Ken Cal at least on once a year. He's an awesome guy to talk to.
He seems like a great guy, and he was kind enough to send me letters back, giving me encouragement and advice. And I said, Ken, I'm a little bit late to the game, but he's somebody I would like to talk to as well. And Mickey Redmond too. I'm glad Mickey's back on the broadcast too, by the way.
Yeah, absolutely. And we also just had on Keith Gave, who was the beat writer for the Red Wings for a long time. And he's always fun to talk to about.
Yeah, and get him going on the Russian 5, and he was involved in a lot of that stuff back in the day. He had stories upon stories about that era. It's something else.
Absolutely.
One of my cherished possessions is a Vladimir Konstantinov autograph card before he got in that accident. So that's something I cherish. Nice. And to me, if he had played his whole career in Detroit, I think he would have been a Hockey Hall of Famer too.
He was a Norris Trophy winner to be. He really was.
He would have been battling out with Lidstrom every year for Norris Trophy. Yeah, for sure.
Yep.
So, well, guys, I want to say thank you so much for giving us almost 2 hours of your time on a Friday night to talk sports. And you guys know you have an open invite to come back on here again and continue success with the Knee Jerks podcast. And hopefully we can talk about a championship in the next year or two with either the Pistons or the Red Wings, or who knows, maybe the Tigers as well.
I'll take a playoff win. Not even a series win at this point.
Right. Thanks a lot for having us, Chris.
It's always a pleasure talking to you, Chris.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, guys. Give me a little bit of time tonight, and I'll send you the video, the audio, and I will edit and video. I'll edit this into reels and clips, and I will tag you guys in. Are you guys on TikTok too, by the way?
I'm not.
No.
Okay, because I'm on TikTok too, so okay. I'll just tag you in on...
We're old.
I'm old too. I'm 53. But TikTok has actually been a good tool for me as well. So, yeah. All right. Well, Nick, Greg, Al, thank you so much for coming on here, and look forward to your next Knee Jerks podcast coming up on Monday night?
Yep.
Okay. All right.
Thanks,
well, thank you
Chris.
so much.
Appreciate
okay, we'll
it.
talk to you guys soon.
Take care.
All right.
You too.
Thanks, Chris.
Yeah.
Thanks, Nick. Thanks, Al. All right, everybody. That concludes season 13, episode 13, overall 673 of Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show, brought to you by our friends at Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership, located at 905 Woodlawn Row West in the Guelph Auto Mall. I want to say thank you to Greg, Big Al, and Nick from the Knee Jerks podcast for coming on here today too. So make sure you check out the Knee Jerks podcast with Greg, Big Al, and Nick, and it's usually every couple weeks. And Knee Jerks, just type in the Knee Jerks podcast, and they are on all platforms as well. As we wrap up this show, guys, it's been a long show, but it was a great conversation with all three of the guys from the Knee Jerks podcast. Barry Cullen Chevrolet right now, the federal EV. I'm going to reword this again. At Barry Cullen Chevrolet dealership right now, the sponsor of this show, right now, the federal EV rebate is back. You can get up to $5,000 off the purchase of your new Chevy EV vehicle. More details available at Barry Cullen Chevrolet dealership at 905 Woodlawn Row West in the Guelph Auto Mall, or go to barrycullen.com, or better yet, give them a call at 519-824-0210. Tell them Chris Palme sent you, and they can give you more information on the federal EV rebate here in Canada. And again, you can get up to $5,000. You can get up to $5,000 off the purchases of your new Chevrolet EV as well. And Barry Cullen Chevrolet dealership is the proud sponsor of Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show. As we wrap up the show, guys, the Cambridge District Humane Society, where I volunteer and fundraise for, is having a big fundraising event on Saturday, April 11th, 2026, from 7 p.m. to 11 p.m. Eastern at the Cambridge Newfoundland Club, located at 1500 Dunbar Road in Cambridge, Ontario, not far from the Cambridge Humane Society. They're having a Prohibition Speakeasy fundraising event, 1920s theme. Tickets are only $75 per ticket, and you can purchase your tickets at cambridgehumanesociety.org or call 519-763 519-623-7722, extension 0. Ask for Kat or Zach, or you can go down to the Cambridge District Humane Society at 1650 Dunbar Road in Cambridge, Ontario, and ask for Kat or Zach, and you can buy your tickets in person or on the phone, or you can do it through cambridgehumanesociety.org as well. And as we wrap up the show, guys, I have another announcement to make before we wrap up this show. The next Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show, brought to you by our friends at barrycullen.com, Monday, March 9th at 11 a.m. with special guest Joe Whitbread. He's an MC. He's a public address announcer for the Sylvan Lake Gulls of the Canadian Western Baseball League, and he's also a social media specialist. Then on Monday at 6:30 p.m., I have five-time Mann Cup champion, National Lacrosse League analyst Brian Shanahan on to talk about the Toronto Rock and the National Lacrosse League as well. Brian Shanahan is the brother of Brendan Shanahan, the former Red Wing and former Maple Leaf executive as well. So Joe Whitbread will be on Monday at 11 a.m. and Brian Shanahan will join us Monday night at 6:30 to talk Toronto Rock lacrosse and a little bit about the Bandits win over the Rock and the latest going on in the National Lacrosse League, which their trade deadline, I believe, for the National Lacrosse League is on Monday, March 9th as well. And before we wrap up this show, guys, I'm going to do an update on the Red Wings Florida game. And right now, Florida leads 2-1 over Detroit with 10:51 to go in the third period. Matthew Tkachuk has both goals for Florida. The Brink Cat has one for the Red Wings. This is a big game for the Detroit Red Wings. So Florida leads 2-1. And the Detroit Pistons coming off a bad loss to the Spurs last night, back in action on Saturday night at home against the Brooklyn Nets. Cade Cunningham and Durant are questionable with injuries. Oscar Thompson will be out with a sprained ankle injury as well, but the Nets are really struggling this year. So the Pistons, even without some of their key players, should be able to bounce back with a win tomorrow night at Little Caesars Arena as well. I want to say thank you again to Greg, Big Al, and Nick from the Knee Jerks podcast, Detroit's a sports talk show with attitude, for coming on here tonight. Make sure you follow those guys on social media. And again, thank you to everyone watching this show on live stream, on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, X, and Instagram. And Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show is available on audio platforms such as Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and Good Pods, and wherever podcasts are available. So I hope everybody has a great weekend, and we'll see you back here on Monday, March 9th at 11 a.m. with Joe Whitbread, and at 6:30 with Brian Shanahan, National Lacrosse League analyst. Thanks again, everyone, for watching and listening to Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show, brought to you by our friends at Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership, located at 905 Woodlawn Road West in the Guelph Auto Mall. Have a great weekend, everybody. Talk to you on Monday.